The flute is quite unique compared to other instruments in the woodwind family because of the fact that it's reedless. The flute produces its sound by the flow of air across the opening. Flutes are notably interesting compared to the other instruments in the orchestra because they've dated back to around 35 to 43,000 years ago. This is an ancient flute that dates back to the Ice Age era that was constructed out of animal bones. The flute is also pentatonic, a scale that we commonly use today, 40,000 years later. The standard concert flute has a range of approximately 3 octaves starting on middle C. While the piccolo is an octave higher than the standard flute, the bass flute is an octave lower. The alto flute has a distinctly mellow and calmer lower section. The alto flute's range is also 3 octaves starting on G below middle C. Throughout the years, flutes have been constructed in a multitude of ways. This includes everything from bone, brass, nickel, silver, gold, glass, ivory, resin, and plastic. For the most part, the flute fingering has been the same ever since the dawn of the 20th century. Later, though, there was somewhat of a flute revolution, where people began to prefer the sound of the French flute, which was more brighter, versus the sound of the English flute, which was a bit less expressive. The flutes, like many other instruments in the orchestra, are amazing for doubling. For example, the high register of the flutes and the upper violins go extremely well together, or perhaps the bass flutes and the cellos. The alto flute also works exceptionally well with the viola, keeping in mind the viola's warm tone and its range. In terms of dynamics, the upper range of the flute has much more bite and can cut through the orchestra easier. The lower section is warm and sweet, but it has a harder time being heard. This is something to keep in mind when orchestrating. In the modern orchestra or film orchestra, there tends to be around 2 to 4 concert flutes, including 1 piccolo.